So joined by now a newly turned professional MMA fighter, Biagggio Ali Walsh, of course, the grandson of the greatest. Biagggio, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
I'm awesome. I mean, we've been speaking for sort of the last 2 years now, while you were still an amateur, and you spoke a lot about how you didn't want to rush the process. You were quite enjoying sort of learning on the job. Obviously, you didn't have necessarily an extensive martial arts career. You were an American footballer, and that was your dream until you turned to MMA in the last couple of years. But now you're turning pro. It's set for the February 24th in Saudi Arabia. So the first question for you, I guess, Biagio, is why now? Why is the time now for you to turn professional?
I don't know. I wanted to see how my last fight would go. And I think just finishing him the way that I did, kind of, I sat back and told myself, okay, I think I'm ready to go pro. Then I talked to my coach and asked him what he thought. And he thought the same thing, let's go pro. So, yeah, it's that simple. I was expecting like a 3-round war that fight, but just finishing him in the second round the way I did, I was like, okay, I think I might be ready to turn pro. It was 7 amateur fights, which is great. I know guys at the gym that got less than that and then turned pro. So, yeah, it's just a feel, I would say. And yeah, now we're ready to turn pro and just put on more exciting fights and hopefully get some more fans.
Yeah, as you said, I mean, 7 bout amateur career. You lost your first one, but then you didn't come close to ever looking like losing a minute in the amateurs after that. And you were knocking people out in the first, second round, and you were saying that you wanted to get these rounds. They just didn't come. You were ending the fight
Yeah.
first round a lot of the time. Maybe it would go into the second. Was there a case of that maybe you actually outgrew the amateurs, and to get that time in the cage and to get that experience, you kind of felt like you might have had to turn pro?
Yeah, yeah, I think, like I said, I do want to get the rounds and stuff like that. But again, there's guys that haven't. I have teammates that haven't gone into like the third round until they turn pro, and maybe I'm just one of those guys, that just haven't gone into the third round till I turn pro, just because I've been knocking out amateurs. So yeah, that's just my situation. It's pro now, so the rounds are now 5 minutes, but I sparse 5 minute rounds. I'm kind of used to 5 minute rounds. Obviously it's a lot different come fight night, but is it different? That's the thing. As long as you're composed and calm, you're gonna do great. So yeah, just getting my mind ready and yeah, I'm in a sport where like anything can happen. It can go 3 rounds. I get knocked out in 1 round. Like anything can happen. So I'm just open to all possibilities.
Yeah, and it's interesting you say that because I guess the glove size changes, and as you said, the rounds change. But a fight's a
Mhm.
fight, and as you've always said, even when you were playing sort of high school and college sports, because of your surname, people wanted to beat you anyway. So, does it feel necessarily any different going into this fight to another fight? I guess the bell's still going to ring, and you're going to throw punches. So, does it feel any different now to how you felt in the past?
No, it doesn't. I'm gonna always have a target on my back. Even when I was playing football, I had a target on my back. Um, especially when I was running towards the touchdown and they were behind me. They could see that big target on my back. So yeah, it's only gonna get worse, really. The media, the the, the interviews are gonna pile up. The haters are gonna get much worse. The online comments, it's all gonna just get completely worse. So I'm ready for it. Come on, I don't care. And it's no different. I'm lucky to have had the platform that I have. I'm lucky that the PFL even sees potential in me. They wanted to sign me when I was 0-1 as an amateur. So just I'm just so grateful for the PFL. Like I can't even like put it into words, man. Like just to see potential and give me the kind of platform and stage that I've been performing at. Madison Square Garden. Before my first fight in the PFL, I fought in a warehouse on a barn. And then the next one was at Madison Square Garden on the prelims of the championship card. So that's a big jump. So, and a lot of guys, like when they turn pro, they don't really get that kind of stage until a little later in their pro career when they're kind of racking up their wins or losses. It doesn't matter. But yeah, I'm just lucky to have had that platform. So this fight compared to the other fights is no different. It's just an additional 2 minutes to beat someone up.
Yeah. So can you explain what your pro debut was like? Can you take us back to that moment? What the venue was like? What the fight was like? Obviously, didn't go your way, and then what it was like to sort of build from then.
My first fight.
Yeah. Can you remember just like the whole build up
Mm-hmm.
to the actual fight, where it was at, and then that
Mm-hmm.
compare it to what you've been doing since?
Yeah, I remember the first fight. I was gonna shit myself before I walked in there, man. Like it's scary. I remember getting in there and it was almost like everything was just a blur. Like I remember thinking like, I can't believe I'm here right now. Oh, we're really about to fight in a cage right now. Like I remember these thoughts going through my head the first time I went in there, and this was in Billings, Montana, and it was at 170. So the dude I fought was freaking just juice to the gills. So yeah, I think my first fight was it was more of a blur. I still beat him up. I just gassed out. That's what happens when you're not breathing. If you do anything and you're not breathing, you're gonna get tired. So that's the biggest thing I learned from that first fight, was just to be more composed and breathe and be calm. I think that is I think that's top of the list if you want to fight, is just to be calm in there, be composed in there. And then things come. Then you can think more clearly. Then you can see more clearly. All these things come if you're just calm. So I think that's the biggest thing I learned from my first fight. And I tell myself this before every fight: stay calm. So yeah, my whole career, I'm just going to be working on trying to stay more composed and just be more calm.
Sure. And we have been seeing that in your performances. I remember your first PFL fight, you came out gun swinging, and you still knocked him out, but you've become a lot more calm in your tactics. But when you came into the PFL, you weren't just a regular amateur, obviously because of your name. Now you're turning pro. You're not just a regular amateur turning pro. But does it feel like does the pressure stay the same as it was when you started your MMA career, or basically from your childhood?
Absolutely. It gets worse. Well, obviously, when I was younger, most people, like a lot of people, didn't know who I was related to. We kept it a secret, me and my family. The only people that really knew was my closest friends, who are still my closest friends today, that would come over the house and they would see all this like Muhammad Ali stuff. That was what it was like growing up. And then when I was playing football, Max Preps came out with something on me, and to this day, I don't know how they found out who I was related to. I guess word spread like wildfire or something. I don't know. But yeah, since high school, everyone kind of knew that I was Ali's grandson. And then, um, and now that I'm playing it, or now that I'm participating in a combat sport, it's only gonna just get worse and worse. So I'm expecting more pressure. I'm expecting more haters, and I'm expecting just the worst of the worst, really.
Yeah. So did you guys as a family try and keep, I guess, your identity to some regard a secret? And why did you only decide to sort of like reveal it after it came out, without sort of your power?
I never went around telling people who I was related to, because in my head I'm thinking, oh, they don't care, you know. But I think in high school, like even in high school, it wasn't something that I would keep revealing to people. It would just be like articles or certain things that came out, and then that's how people would find out, and more people would find out. And then like every time it's his birthday, which is January 17th, I post something on Instagram in remembrance of him. So maybe people see that and they're like, oh, you're related to Ali. So yeah, but other than that, I don't really like go around telling people, because even to this day, like I don't think you care.
Yeah, sure. And obviously your family's steeped in rich boxing history. Your auntie Laila, your brother now Nico. Do you feel it's kind of right to have an Ali in MMA? You're obviously more, the family is as well represented in boxing as any family can ever be. But do you feel like it is quite important to have an Ali in the sport of MMA?
Yeah, I wouldn't say like important, like it's obligated. I would say it's cool. Really, like that simple. I think it's just cool that an Ali would be fighting in MMA. I think it was in 76 or something. My grandfather did like a cross martial arts thing with a wrestler. So like that's kind of how MMA started. It was the boxer versus wrestler, the jiu-jitsu versus the karate dude, the taekwondo versus the judo guy. It was kind of like which martial arts is the best. And that was going on in the 70s when my grandfather did like a cross fight with a wrestler. So yeah, I think it's cool just to be able to say like, oh, like the Ali's, like it's a boxing family, but Biagio fights MMA, and who knows, maybe my kids start boxing and wrestling or do gymnastics or basketball. It doesn't matter. I just think that it's a cool thing to say, really.
Cool. And you mentioned there about how you don't feel like necessarily some people will care or treat you differently to who you're related to. You don't none more so than when you're in an MMA gym or in a martial arts gym. Egos are left at the door. Did you quite enjoy uh, from the start of your MMA journey, essentially getting beat up just like the rest of the guys do? The fact that your surname didn't matter and you still had to do the same drills, you still got treated the same as everyone. Did you quite enjoy that aspect that you didn't get treated differently?
Absolutely. And I still do today. I still get my ass whooped in the gym. Last Thursday, I went around, or no, 2 Thursdays ago, I went around with Julian Erosa, who's been in the UFC for a long time. And I went to the body and he threw a knee that literally could have knocked me out. I don't know how it did knock me out. But yeah, like I still get beat up. There's John Jones said in an interview, there's guys that in the gym that beat me up that you don't even know about. So that's the beauty of the sport. I think is you're always the student. You're always learning, and when you have that kind of mindset, I think that you can go really far. Once you start, once you're like satisfied and you're settled with what you're doing, I think that that's the time to rethink you know what what you want to do and if you want to even learn more.
Yeah, and you're also surrounded. I mean, you've been at Extreme Couture for a while now. You're surrounding yourself with world-class fighters. Obviously, Francis Ngannou has been doing great things. Sean Strickland just recently lost the belt, but what a come up he had. So, how much of that do you put that your improvement and your mindset do you put down to sharing the gym with these world-class and world champion
Oh
fighters?
man, it's awesome because I get to pick their brains. Like I get to talk to Sean about, oh, uh he was telling me like you could throw a jab like from here, from there, from anywhere you could throw a jab. Like just picking these guys' brains because they've been in the sport for such a long time. Chris Curtis helps me out a ton. I always pick his brain like, oh, like if I want to switch, like go to the body, like should I switch? All types of questions. I always pick these guys' brains. So it's nice to be around such high level dudes because to me, I look at it as I can learn something from this guy because he is who he is. So I do that every day. Even today when I'm sparring, I'm probably gonna chat and talk around to all these guys that I see in the gym and see what I could have done better, what I'm doing bad, like how do you do this, like all sorts of things.
Of course. And speaking to you both in 22 and 23, everything you kind of set out to do, you achieved. You wanted to fight 3 or 4 times a year, and you did in both years. Obviously, I guess
Mm-hmm.
it's a bit of a reset, um, turning pro now. But there's also a lot more opportunities to fight with the PFL on the undercard of the season, potentially the Super Fight series. We've also got the acquisition of Bellator, so lots of options for you. Ideally, what would 2024 look like for Biagio Ali Walsh?
And in a perfect world, it would be to go 4-0, and all four of those wins are exciting fights, even knockouts. That's the main goal, really. And to just keep learning, keep learning. When I have 20 pro fights, I'm still want to keep learning and learning. So, yeah, in a perfect world, go 4-0 this year by the end of this year, and have hopefully four knockouts or four wars. Doesn't matter. I just like to get the win and just keep getting better and better. That's the main goal.
Of course, and it all starts on the 24th of February from Saudi Arabia. I'm sure we'll be catching up there Biagio, it's been a pleasure to speak to you as always, and I wish you all the best of luck in.
Thank you, sir.